Good morning, everyone. Actually, it's just turned afternoon for me. It's just gone midday. It's 12:01 here in the very sunny north of England. It's actually warm today and sunny. But anyway, anyone would think it was summer. Anyway, welcome back to all of my viewers in the United States. And I say that for a particular reason. I just want to show you this very quickly before we get into Sebastian's case. So these are my analytics for my audience over the last 28 days. And usually, if you look here at top geographies, usually about 70% of my viewers are from America. And then maybe about 5% from Canada. And then maybe 10% from the United Kingdom. And over the last month, while I've been covering the Jay Slater case, it's completely flipped. Like 70% of my viewers have been from the United Kingdom. And I've never, ever, ever had that before. Even when I was covering the Nicola Bulley case, I still had a huge chunk of people following the Nicola Bulley case from the United States. But not so Jay Slater. I just find it interesting. I do keep an eye on my analytics. And yeah, so welcome back. Those of you in America who haven't been following the Jay Slater case. I've had a ton of new people to my channel, but over the last 28 days, 3/4 of those who've watched my videos are not subscribed. It's crazy. The analytics crazy. You know me, I like data, so the analytics, you know, behind the scenes, I find it fascinating. But hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Let's see who's in the house. I bet there's a lot of Americans in the house. Like we're actually winning something. KW. Yeah. Hi, Scott H. Got a Tennessean in. Wicked Angela. Bobby's red. Baby's red. I seriously need to get my eyes tested. My eyes are so bad. Lisa, Naomi Rose, Mike, Vicky, good morning from Texas. Karen, good morning. Casey Marie from Missouri. Jackie from South Africa. Casey Marie, your membership expired. Oh dear. Pinchot, I don't want to agree with you. But it's kind of looking that way, isn't it? That's true. Very true. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that point. Absolute circus. I mean, look, I haven't covered the Sebastian Rogers case for 4 weeks. My last video on Sebastian was, it was like an overview of some cases from Tennessee. So Sebastian, I did Layla Santinello and Holland Snap all in one video. And that was 4 weeks ago. And the vast majority of my videos since then have been about Jay Slater. But I have been checking in. Occasionally with Sebastian's case. And every live stream I've clicked on, you know, in the creators that have covered Sebastian over the last almost 5 months, I've not been able to stay. I mean, maybe I've missed a lot. And this is the point of doing this live stream. You know, I'm catching up and maybe I've missed some stuff, but it just appears that everybody is fighting. And there's nothing at all about Sebastian. I don't know what to make of it. But it's not something that I engage in on this channel. So I'm actually glad that the Jay Slater case came along when it did, because it's kept me busy and it's given me a case that's completely different than Sebastian's. Because when I get into a case, I really get into a case. I mean, I cover a lot of cases, but when I get into one, I really get into it. But with Sebastian's case, it's sickening, really sickening how much of a circus it's become. Really. I agree with you, Mike. I really believe he is. I really believe he is. Swelter in London. Wow. It's warm here. It's about, I think it's going to hit 77 Fahrenheit this afternoon. I don't know what that is in Celsius anymore, but 26, 27 maybe. So that's just basically, lukewarm for some people who are used to the high temperatures. But we're not, are we? We're not. We're just not. Mrs. Amir, hello. Let's see who else is in here. Peter, hello. Down Under with Love, good evening to you. Hi, CW. Who else have we got? Dua Ditty, Trish, Jennifer, Rainy May, Deborah, Sirius Black, Kathy, Miss Marie. It's 7 p.m. in Perth, Australia. Hey from Summerwells land. Hey. All right, guys, we're going to get into this. So I'm going to stay completely focused on Sebastian's case. I haven't looked at any of the nonsense that's been going on. I can't. I just can't. I can't deal with it. I cannot deal with it. But the question I want to ask, what's going on? What's going on with Sebastian's case? And why is Seth searching the Cumberland River? It's a genuine question because I've been out of the case for 4 weeks. It's a genuine question. Why is Seth searching the Cumberland River? Does anybody know? Does anybody know the rationale behind that? Because I don't understand. I don't understand when there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that Sebastian would be anywhere close to the Cumberland River. Where's the Cumberland River? I'm so glad you asked, Pincho. I'm so glad you asked. All right. Let's do this. Hold on a second. Let's do this. All right. So this is Stafford Court. This is where Sebastian disappeared from. The Cumberland River is way down here. So this is Hendersonville. So although Sebastian's address is Hendersonville, they're actually only, they're in the outskirts, they're outside of the city limits. This is the Cumberland River, right down here. So it's like proper big and fat. There must be a dam or something. Is that a dam? Yeah, looks like a dam. The Cumberland River is way down here. Now, it doesn't look that far on the map, but it's 5 miles. Now, I have talked about the Cumberland River before because there is a creek that runs from the other side of Sebastian's school. Let me find it. Called Drake's Creek. There it is. No, it's not. Told you I was out of the case. But there is a creek that runs, I think that's it. Maybe. Oh, there it is. Is it? Where's Drake's Creek gone? Well, there is a creek that runs down from close to Sebastian School, and it feeds into the Cumberland River. So the only possible way that Sebastian's body could be in the Cumberland River is if he drowned and fallen in Drake's Creek, which is only shallow, and that had taken his body to the Cumberland River. Yeah, Riley Strain was found in the Cumberland River, yeah, but that was closer to Nashville. The only other way that Sebastian's body could find its way into the Cumberland River would be if someone placed him in the Cumberland River. Now, neither of those, to me, are leading theories. There's absolutely no evidence that Sebastian was murdered. There's no evidence at all that Sebastian is in the river. How far could he realistically walk barefoot? As I keep saying, I don't think he was barefoot. Honestly, I really don't. I think he had shoes that his parents weren't aware of. I really do. But if he had fallen into Drake's Creek, I'll say again, why is Seth searching the Cumberland River? Because if Seth believes that he'd fallen into water and drowned, because he does like water, then why not search the entire length of Drake's Creek, which has been searched? It has been searched. I don't know how thoroughly, and we know how difficult water searches are. But Drake's Creek in the main is very shallow. So if Sebastian had fallen in and for whatever reason couldn't get himself out, his body surely would have been found before it entered the Cumberland River. So I say again, why is Seth searching the Cumberland River? It makes absolutely no sense. And in my opinion, it's just a complete waste of time and resources. That's just my opinion. It's like 600 something miles long. It is. It's huge. Very, very long. So yeah, Riley Strain was found in the Cumberland River. So it's Riley Strain fell in the river in Nashville, and his body in, how long was it? 2 weeks? Almost 2 weeks. His body had gone 7 miles, I think. And the only reason why they found Riley Strain was because his body had become lodged under a barge. And then when some workers moved this barge, Riley's body popped up because it was in that space of time where the body floats. So we've talked a lot on this channel about what happens to a body in water. And when we were covering Riley Strain's case on this channel, if you remember, if you followed my coverage of the Riley Strain case, you'll know that I got the water temperatures and how long it takes a body to float when a body has entered a river and drowned. And a river that was as cold as the Cumberland River in March, so it wasn't freezing, but it wasn't warm. I mean, water's never warm. His body would have floated between, I think it was 10 to 14 days. Because initially, when a body falls into a body of water, If that body of water is still, like a lake, where there's not much movement, like there's not an active current, then the body sinks. I mean, it might move a bit, but it sinks. And then once the decomposition process has started to take place and there's a buildup of gas from the bacteria that is running riot in the body, that buildup of gas makes the body buoyant. And unless the body becomes trapped underwater, then that body starts to float. And it depends on a number of environmental factors. It depends on the size of the person as well as the environmental factors. But generally speaking, in water that was as cold as the Cumberland River in March, when Riley Strain was missing, it was estimated 10 to 14 days. And that was absolutely what happened with Riley. That his body had become trapped under a barge, and when that barge was moved, his body was right there. His body popped right up. However, and I know this is horrible, we're talking about a child here. We're talking about a 15-year-old young man. If a body has been in water for as long as Sebastian's would have been, so almost 5 months, next week, Sebastian will have been missing for 5 months. I surely don't need to tell you how little of that body would be left after 5 months in a river where presumably there's marine life and there's a lot of movement of the current. There's no way of knowing how far that body would have gone downstream. Riley went 7 miles before he became stuck under a barge. He would have gone further if his body hadn't have become stuck under a barge. But a body unimpeded can go for miles in a river, especially one as strong as the Cumberland River. And that movement of water plus marine activity, we are not talking about a body anymore. Let's be very clear. We're not talking about an intact body anymore. We're not. So I'll say again, why is Seth searching the Cumberland River? What is the point of searching the Cumberland River? It wouldn't hold together after that long underwater. Thank you, Auntie Ray. Thank you. It's horrible to think about, but it's very true. Very true. But unless his body was placed in the Cumberland River, and then you've absolutely nowhere to say where the starting point was. If the body was placed in the Cumberland River, by whom was it placed and where was it placed? and there's no evidence. There's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that Sebastian was taken anywhere. None. Zero. Zilch. And again, if Sebastian had drowned and fallen in Drake's Creek up near Shackle Island, where Drake's Creek runs from, and then it goes downstream and feeds into the Cumberland River, that's 5 miles. That's 5 miles in a shallow creek. So I don't think that body would have got 5 miles in a shallow creek before being stuck on the shore or on the bank. So why search the Cumberland River? Now there was this. This is 3 days ago. Now I know. Actually, it was last week. Now I know that most of you will have seen this news piece, but this is what got me talking about it. Well, at least got me thinking about it when I saw this. So this is on WKRN News Channel 2. If you can hear someone mowing the lawn, somebody's just started mowing the lawn. Hold on, I'll just shut my window. There you go. That's better. All right. I'm going to play this. It's only 2.5 minutes. Most of you will have seen this. And even this itself has become controversial. So let's take a listen and then we can discuss it.
A father refuses to give up on his missing son. 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers disappeared nearly 5 months ago, and his father, Seth, is still searching. Good evening and welcome to News 2 at 6. I'm Bob Mueller.
And I'm Haley Wilkes. Sebastian's father told News 2's Caitlin Quisenberry they're operating this like a recovery effort, even though he believes Sebastian is still alive.
Memorial Park was one of the first places Seth Rogers tells me he searched for his son, Sebastian. He says this place is Sebastian's favorite. Almost 2 months ago, this bridge was lit up in Sebastian's favorite color, green, in hopes of his safe return home. At that time, he had been missing for 2 months. Today, the search continues, almost 5 months later.
People think that we're not searching anymore. Well, they can think whatever they want. Our searches are private.
Seth tells me after a herniated disc surgery, it is back to boots on the ground. He says today, over 40 searchers, vetted by his private investigator, will be eliminating locations Sebastian could be in Middle Tennessee.
Now I don't really have much stopping me from getting out there and doing what I need to do.
There's a refocus. We're trying to zero in on more specific information that we are gathering.
Seth tells me his search parties have become invite only due to chaos at previous searches.
They're private because we learned last time. You know, we had people following my searchers around that were just handing out flyers, and it doesn't bode well for people who are trying to help to be put into hostile situations.
But he says the goal today is not to find Sebastian.
The search that we're doing today is a recovery effort, and I'm praying that we don't find him.
Seth says he believes his son is alive, but he added, some people still don't know Sebastian is missing.
We have to continue to hand out flyers until everybody knows.
Seth and Tony tell me they have one unanswered question for the Sumner County Sheriff's Office.
We think it's a valid question. We think it's a fair question. And that question is, are you any closer today to finding Sebastian Rogers than you were February 26th?
And for Seth, the answer to that question is no.
My son's not here, so we're nowhere closer.
If you have seen Sebastian or have information about his whereabouts, call the Sumner County Sheriff's Office or the TBI. Those numbers are listed on our website, WKRN.com.
Okay, so there's Seth with
Needed disc surgery.
There's Seth operating a sonar system. So whose boat's that? Is that Tony's boat? Again, I've missed loads. These are genuine questions. They're not trick questions. Whose boat is this? Is this Tony's boat? Is he trained? No. I don't think so. I don't think so. And look, I don't want to rip into Seth too much. You know, it's good that there's people still out there. And this is getting Sebastian's name back in the news. So I get that. It's Tony's boat. Okay, cool. Tony's boat. Yeah, it says courtesy of Tony Mathis. Yeah, the footage is courtesy of Tony Mathis, but whose boat is it? But people are saying it's Tony's boat, and I'm not gonna argue with you. So it's good that there's people still out there searching. It's good that they're getting Sebastian's name back on the news. I mean, for those of you who live in Middle Tennessee, how often is Sebastian's name mentioned? How often do you see flyers? How often do you see any information at all about Sebastian? And I would bet that you don't see it very often. The sonar has Tony's name on it. Does it really? Dear. But again, why the Cumberland River? I mean, look, they could have gone anywhere and got the news there. If they'd organised searches, and I've heard that they've got a team of 40 searchers. Well, where are they all? I'm not saying that they should give away their search locations. I absolutely agree that keeping searches private is a good thing. It absolutely is. And it's a good thing that they've vetted these searchers, apparently. But didn't Seth fire one of his PIs for going to the trouble of vetting searchers? Huh? But in my opinion, in getting search teams together, surely it's better to look in places where Sebastian is more likely to be. They're pointing fingers at Katie by a river search. Why would Katie have put Sebastian in the Cumberland River? And more to the point, when did she put Sebastian's body in the Cumberland River? Surely it would be more appropriate to search in places where there's actual evidence that Sebastian was at. Because there's no evidence whatsoever that Sebastian went 5 miles south to the Cumberland River, either by himself, by movement of water, or at the hands of anyone else. So this is just a big publicity stunt, in my opinion. And the publicity is great, but along with that publicity, surely there has to be, if it's true that there's 40 searchers on the ground, surely it makes more sense to do those searches where there's a higher likelihood that Sebastian would be at. There isn't much evidence at all. No, there isn't. But there is some evidence. None of it leads to the Cumberland River. Has to be the morning drive, they were indicating. Yeah, but the search know exactly where Katie went in that morning. They know exactly where she went. They know exactly where she was, because she was driving round when the cops were there. She was still driving round. They know exactly where she went. So she didn't go 5 miles south to the Cumberland River and then drive 5 miles north back. She just didn't. Amy Lou, member for 24 months. Thank you so much. Thank you. Been with me since Summer Wells got gone. Oh dear. You are one of the OGs now. This was probably the Flasher's idea. What's that? The Flasher's idea, Katrina. I believe he's close to home. Ma, I do. Absolutely. There must be tips we don't know about. Yeah, but those tips we don't know about, how reliable would those tips be? If it's tips going to Seth and Tony, how reliable would they be? Seeing as Seth has followed the quote-unquote tips from psychics before, are those is that the caliber of tips that they're following? Because I would imagine that if somebody's got, you know, a relevant tip, they're not going to hand it into Seth. They're going to hand it into the cops. At least I hope they would. Seth knows how to fish, so maybe he's thinking along those lines. What, that Sebastian went fishing? What, Sebastian went fishing and fell in? Well, where's the evidence that Sebastian had taken any gear for fishing? Was there a fishing rod missing from the house? No, not that we know of anyway. So if he's thinking that Sebastian went fishing, well, okay, that makes sense. But show us the evidence that Sebastian intended to go fishing. Tell us that there was, you know, fishing gear missing from the house. Tell us that. You believe it is at least an hour away? I don't. I believe he's very close to home. If anybody's been following the Caleb Harris case from Corpus Christi in Texas, doesn't that just tell us how close to home somebody might be? Angie Baby, member for 12 months. Thank you so much, Angie Baby. You think Seth's grasping at straws? Maybe he is, but there is evidence to suggest that Sebastian went in a particular direction, and it wasn't south towards the Cumberland River. But yeah, Caleb Harris was literally yards away from his house. And he's been there since March. Well, we assume he's been there since March. Now, what we don't know is how Caleb ended up in the location they ended up at. But it just shows, it's just yet another example of how a body can be missed despite many, many searches, despite supposedly every inch of the local area being searched. And lo and behold, Caleb Harris's body appears to have been there in a pump station yards away from his apartment for 4 months. Did they ever go out to the perimeter of 5 miles in the woods? Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. Now, I know Chloe, the PI that Seth fired, was doing her own searches with her own team. And when she posted photos on Facebook, she was always in the woods. So I don't know which woods, but there's, in my opinion, there's evidence to point to Sebastian going in a very particular direction. Shackle Island has pump stations. Well, you see, either Caleb, you know Caleb's case, either Caleb fell into an open manhole and somehow ended up being transported by the, I don't know, the system, sewage system or drainage system or something, and made his way to the pump house, or he was placed there. How do people think he left the house? Neighbours can pick up people in the house, but nobody leaving it. I've talked about that loads in my previous videos. I mean, so much so, people were accusing me of just being repetitive, saying the same thing every day. But people weren't getting it. People didn't seem to be getting what I was trying to say. So I was saying the same thing over and over and over again. And the reason why the cameras didn't pick him up is the same reason it didn't pick up the FBI when they did tests. I mean, do people not realize that the FBI were out there night after night doing tests to see what cameras on Stafford and Kelling Lane would pick up someone walking along the road? And the cameras that people had in those locations didn't pick up at the FBI agents at night. Why? Because the systems weren't high quality, because the systems weren't able to, weren't triggered by somebody walking on the road. Why? Because you're looking at 50 to 80 feet away. And unless you've got a really good security system with a really good camera, it's not going to be triggered by somebody walking on the road from that distance. But it picked up someone in their lounge. We don't know that for sure. We don't know that for sure, SS. That's just what neighbours of, the hearsay that has come from neighbours. We don't know whether, I mean, the camera might pick up a light turning on. I did a map of video cameras. I absolutely did. Why did the camera see him taking out the trash? Because there was light. Because there was light there. The light was on. So the camera of the house over the road on Stafford Court must have been a decent enough camera to be able, to have that range. But it wasn't a clear image of Sebastian taking out the trash. It was just like, a silhouette. And the reason why the camera would have picked up that is because there's two lights near the garage. But if Sebastian came out the front door, there's no light there. It's interesting you didn't know that about the cameras. Well, go and check back my videos from, I don't know, 5-6 weeks ago when I was talking about it. I'll even show you. Hold on. I've done so many. All right, so what's a good one for cameras? So I've talked about the cameras a lot. But I've done like specific camera videos as well. Let's go down to the bottom. And I've been talking about it for a long time. Okay. There, that's a good one for cameras. Is here. So the house would have been caught because these houses are close to the road. So the chances are.
Up there, and Joe's sending some more cars if we can start from the beginning, from the original house, and set up a new plan up there. Yeah, bro, that's what we're doing now, sir. Thank you. In all years, and neighbor advised that he's found the child under his son's car, which is across the street.
So those are important, but there was no answer. I assume that they went back.
1015 had ring cameras, but didn't pick up anything.
Okay, 1000.
St. John Missionary.
So that's me plotting out where the cameras were on Kellen. So you can go and check that video out. That's quite an old one. Here, I'll put the link to it in the chat. I also did some live streams as well, where we went through it all together. That would be a good one. But just go and click through a few of them. Because I've got maps. I've got the dispatch audio footage. And I'm glad, look, I'm glad that other cases came along when they did, because people were accusing me of being repetitive and being single-minded and all of the stuff that winds me up. But how often can I say the same thing when it just seems obvious based on the dispatch audio that we've heard, based on the things that the cops have said? Those are the only things that we really should be focusing on. You would love to know if he actually got home after Texas Roadhouse. He did. He did. I think this is one where... I think this is a live stream where I went through a bunch of cameras. Maybe. Oh no, that was about the flashlights. That was about flashlights. Let's have a look at this one. Oh, look, I've even got a spreadsheet. Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much for the $9.99. That's very kind of you. I've even got a spreadsheet of everything. How much more could I do, honestly? And this is the route he took. This is the route he took. This is the route we know he took. I'm assuming. I'm not assuming. I'm going off what the cops have told us. How do I know he got home? The cops know he got home. So, like I said, I'm going off what the TBI and Sumner County Sheriff's Office have told us, and from information that's reliable, like the dispatch audio. I'm not going off tips from psychics. I'm not going off people thinking he's in the Cumberland River. I'm going off what the TBI and Sumner County Sheriff's Office have told us. I'm going off the information we know happened. I'm not assuming anything. I'm going off the facts that the TBI, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, have told us. That's the only facts I'm going to listen to, as well as the pieces that we can glean from things like dispatch audio. Was he captured on camera when he left the house and went missing? Do we know? No, he wasn't captured on camera for the reasons that I've talked about in numerous videos. Exactly. Thank you, Tim. Listen to the dispatch audio. Max, the German Shepherd, tracked him to the construction site. We know that other dogs also track Sebastian's scent. We know this. We heard it with our own ears. Where did Sumner Sheriff say he got home, really? In the information that they put out in their press conferences and the information that's on the TBI's newsroom. I'm going off Katie's words, not actual proof of life. No, I'm going off what the cops have told us. Not going off Katie's word at all. I'm going off what the cops have told us, because the cops know a lot more than we do. The cops have been able to vet the information that they've been given, not just from the parents, but from, you know, the totality of the evidence that they've gleaned. And those are the facts. Those are the facts of the case. It doesn't matter if you don't like the facts. If they don't fit your theory, you just ignore them. It doesn't matter. The facts are the facts. The facts remain the facts. Did Max have a scent article? I don't know about Max. I don't know whether Max was just tracking like any human scent, but I do know that later dogs that also tracked him in the same path had a scent article. We do know that. They did not track Sebastian's scent. They tracked her scent. No. There was a bloodhound and a blue tick coonhound, and then another dog whose breed I don't know, who also followed the same track as Max, and they were following Sebastian's scent. So we do know that. We absolutely do know that. Cops told us last seen the 26th. Lie. Don't know what you mean, Mike. The dog scent could have been from earlier that day. How could it have been? How could it have been? Given that Sebastian went missing in the early hours of the 26th. How much earlier that day could it have been? But do you mean the 25th? Well, we know exactly where Sebastian was on the 25th. We know all the places he went to on the 25th. We know he was on camera at those places on the 25th. So, no, he wasn't playing around the construction site on the 25th. Ellie said the dogs didn't track Sebastian's scent. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They said they got scents away from the home, like leading away from the home. We heard on the dispatch audio exactly what Max found or what Max tracked. Have people been searching the wood north of his house? No. This is what I'm getting to, fly on the wall. This is what I'm getting to. The only place people should be looking is in the woods, either north or to the west of his home. Thank you, Butterfly's Journey. Ellie Presser, he was tracked away from the home. Absolutely, those were the words. Those were the words. My hay fever's getting to me. My hay fever's a lot better, actually, now, Devil Doll. My hay fever's really bad, like May or June. Really bad. But the grasses that I'm allergic to, they've shed most of their pollen now. So I'm much better. I'm only allergic to certain types of grass. I'm not allergic to any other pollen. You've heard nothing about Sebastian before the restaurant that day. Well, you need to go back and listen to the places that he went to before the restaurant, because he was out and about most of the day, at places where he would have been seen on camera, that the law enforcement would have been able to get the footage from. So he was out and about on the 25th. He was seen by numerous people in numerous places. So he wasn't out and about playing in the local neighborhood on the 25th. In a later presser, Ellie said they did not track Sebastian's scent. No, they didn't. Plant Lady, they didn't. I'm sorry, they did not. What they actually said was they didn't get a track that led to Sebastian. They didn't say they didn't get any tracks. They said they got tracks away from the home. But they then said they didn't get any tracks that led them to Sebastian or any evidence of Sebastian. That's what they actually said. Thank you. We've all heard the dispatch audio, Max jumping in the water. There's no denying it. Exactly. And there was other dogs as well that tracked. Listen, go back and listen to my video. Just go back and listen to my previous videos. Just flick through them and find the places where I've gone through all the dispatch audio. I've done 2 live streams where I've gone through the dispatch audio from start to finish. 2 live streams where I've done it completely. And I've done tons of short videos where there's like segments within them where I've talked about the dog tracks, where I've talked about the cameras, where I've shown the evidence for it, where I've measured the driveways. I've listened to all the press conferences, Plant Lady, all of them. Listen to all of them. I'm shouting at the wind. I know, it's entirely, it's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating. And when you have this evidence that people are just ignoring, including Sebastian's own father, who'd rather go and sit in a boat looking at a sonar screen that he doesn't understand, and he's completely ignoring the evidence that the cops have given him. It's entirely, it's frustrating. And it makes me just want to move on from this case. And I'm not gonna. I mean, I haven't talked about this case at all for 4 weeks, and I'm not going to just completely drop it. But what I can't do is spend my time saying the same thing over and over and over again when people are just not understanding the evidence that's actually out there, whether it's because they genuinely have not heard that information or because they've been believing, I don't know, tips from psychics or live stream after live stream, where if they are bothering to talk about Sebastian at all, It's either to slag Seth off or to slag Chris and Katie off, whichever, side of the aisle they're on. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with that. I don't have time for that. Can we cover the Trump case? I talked about the Trump case the other day. I mean, I have been following the Trump case. Was there a second shooter? I don't know. I don't think there was. I think that dude was just a weirdo. I think the cops were either completely incompetent or willfully ignorant for not getting him down from that roof, or at least moving Trump off the stage till they caught him. He's there for half an hour. So something went down there. Something went wrong there. If they tell me that there was a second shooter on a grassy knoll, I'll scream. Thank you, Linda, for the $4.99. That's very kind of you. Yeah, there's an element of willfully not using logic. There is. There absolutely is. There was a video of Nart Divers saying Seth not even using the equipment properly. Shall we listen to that? Yes, that's a good point. Nart Divers. So Trey from Nart Divers. I did actually mean to get that up in the background just in case I needed it. But just a minute, let me find it. Because I did see that. I do follow Nart Divers. I think it's this one.
So Sebastian Rogers.
Hold on, just let me see if it's the one with the sonar. Because he did a couple. No, that's not the one with the sonar. That's not the one I'm looking for. I watched it. I watched it recently. Hold on, I'll have to search for his channel. There we go, got it. I think, no, I haven't. It's annoying. Ah. Oh, Nart Divers is live at the moment. I don't know what he's talking about. Is it this one? Yeah, it is. Right, I've got it. All right, so this is Nart Divers. This is Trey from Nart Divers, and he talks about the sonar that Seth is operating. Okay. So just for those that haven't seen this. So this sonar, he takes a shot of this sonar and he talks it through. Now I can only say, oh, all right, I don't know anything about sonar. I can't vouch for how accurate the thing that Trey is saying is. All I can say is Trey operates sonar, and the information that he's provided is his information. I assume it's correct. I can't vouch for it though. However, let's play this little video, seeing as someone mentioned it. So it's only at 3.5 minutes. So let's listen to this, just for those who haven't seen it.
Since this is like the only way I can know that it'll probably get to him. So, all right, Seth, you're searching. Super proud of you. I know you want to find your son. You know, the outcome, I can't tell you what that's going to be. But just a follow up from what the news has been releasing. My son is not here, so we're nowhere closer. Just from watching that, I see you're using the Humminbird Solix 15. Side imaging, down imaging, sonar, head units are super sensitive. So I noticed the supply was 11.5 volts. You got to get that up past 12 volts. 12 and a half, 13 volts. I always try to get mine to 13 volts just so I know I got plenty of voltage because they're sensitive. Whenever you're getting reading the images, and whenever it's running. I noticed that the water temp's 51. Doesn't really mean anything. Water clarity kind of got to take that into consideration too, depending on your contrast and stuff like that, your sensitivity. You're running at 3.2 mile an hour. That's pretty good speed, anywhere between 3-4 mile an hour, especially looking for someone, smaller objects. I noticed that the depth is 4.7 foot deep. Not to say that I don't exactly know where you're at in this video, but if you're at 4.7 foot deep, and I notice you're...
So I don't know where they're at. If the river's only 4.7 foot deep, they can walk about in it. Not that I suggest they do, but I'm just saying, where actually are they? If the river's only 4.7 foot deep. Has anybody seen his 40 searchers? No one's seen his 40 searchers. Yeah, the sonar sends like a signal. It bounces off like objects, like solid objects underwater, and it creates an image of it on the screen. And it does take practice and it takes training to understand what you're actually looking at. So it will find any solid object, but it can't see through objects. So let's say you've got a lot of tree branches or a lot of debris, or things like, lots of rocks and stuff that can hide under the tree branches. You're not going to be able to see the stuff that's under. So it bounces the sound wave. It's like it's a lot like a scan that you have when you're pregnant. It's a lot like that. It's using sound waves, right? So it's bouncing these signals down, which is picked up on the screen, and it's not bouncing through objects though. So things like, let's say, for example, a body. If a body's laying on the bottom of the river, then it's going to pick up the shape of that body, right? However, if that body's lodged under branches or debris, it's not going to pick that body up. And I'm very sad to say that after 5 months, a body that's been in a river for that length of time, you're not looking for a body. I'm sorry, you're not. You're not looking for a body. You're looking for bones. So the possibility of sonar picking up bones, you'd have to be very, very, very lucky. Very lucky. And how the sonar would see a bone amidst all of the debris and all of the stuff that's just in rivers naturally, I don't know. Thank you, Purple AJ, for gifting 10 memberships. Once again, you are so kind. We've got Jadzia, Linda K, Bluebird, Janine, Mia. You're going to let me go down here. Oh, it's so annoying, this computer. It's driving me insane. So we got Mia, Looking Beyond, Tumbleweeds, Poco Sue, Allison, and TX Jewish Dog Mom. Texas Jewish Dog Mom. So welcome everybody. You get a month's free membership courtesy of Purple AJ, who is an absolute superstar, as always. Plenty of stuff in the members area if you want to go and check it out. It's buffering like crazy, is it? I don't know whether that's my end or your end, honestly. I don't know. Not sure why he's searching that river though. Exactly. That's what I started with. What's going on? What have I missed? Genuinely. The question I asked right at the beginning, and the question that's in the, what's going on with Sebastian Rogers? What's going on? Why is he searching the river? Doesn't make sense. So it's okay for everyone else. It's just you, Mike. You're buffering. You're buffering. Just you. All right, let's play the rest of this.
Scanning 80 foot out. So if you're scanning, if the depth's only 5 foot deep, you don't need to be, especially for a small object, you need to be running 20 foot at the most. If it's only 5 foot deep, maybe 25 foot, and do more passes. Do a lot more passes. Make sure you're straight. Make sure there's not a lot of chop. There's a lot to take into consideration. This is a super crash course. I don't know
There is a lot, and I can't say. Like I said, I can't vouch for how accurate he's being here. He's the one that operates sonar, not me. I don't know anything about sonar systems at all, and I'm not going to even try to pretend that I do know about them. But if you remember the Audrey Cunningham case, a heartbreaking case from a few months ago, and it was Equisearch that found Audrey in the river. And they did, I think Tim from Equisearch said he passed. He went over and over and over that area 80 times. I'm sure it was 80 times. It's stuck in my memory. Where was he interviewed? Was it on Duty Ron? I can't remember where Tim Miller was interviewed, but he was the one that found Audrey's body. And the body was moving because that numpty who murdered her, allegedly, innocent till proven guilty, but he did it. That numpty that murdered her weighted her body down. So a really stupid thing to do, because if he hadn't weighted her body down, her body would have been way downstream. They probably would never have found her. But anyway, he weighted her body down, but the body was like moving in the water. And they had to keep passing and passing and passing to actually locate it. And I'm sure he said he did 80. It was either 80 passes or 50 passes. Like they had to just keep going up and down, up and down, up and down before they got the divers in. Didn't Nancy Grace interview him? It may be. I can't remember whose interview he said it on. My take on the Karen Reid case, she's innocent. He's trying to be helpful, but I heard he lost a lot of subs for this. Why? Why? I lose subs. Every time I talk about Sebastian Rogers, I lose subscribers. Because people can't stand listening to information that is not following their preferred theory. At this stage in the case, people have a prepared theory. And if you're not prepared to blame any of the parents for having any direct involvement whatsoever in Sebastian going missing, people unsubscribe. So I don't know why Trey lost a bunch of subscribers for this, if that's indeed true. Because, in my opinion, he's just giving some facts. Like just saying, just look at your sonar, and this is probably how best you'll get your results in that environment. I don't understand what's controversial about it. I don't understand. And him saying, well, if you're only in water that's 5 foot deep, then reduce the amount of side scan it does to make it, I don't know, make it clearer, I guess. I don't know. I don't know about sonar. I have seen all the jurors coming out. Yes, I have. I have. And yes, there is a hearing next week where it's going to be discussed. Well, the best of the best didn't find the club. No. But then 6 months later, he comes along and says that he found her in 6 minutes. It's like, yeah, all right then, Peter. Okay. Not Divers lost subs when they'd teamed up unknowingly with yeah, he did. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
Who you have on your team, and then the news release that you found some stuff in the Cumberland River that is of interest. All right, well, when you're in the river, when you're running side imaging, down imaging, especially if your voltage is down and not right, I don't know what it is today or what it was whenever you found things of interest on the Cumberland River, but you're always going to find things of interest in the river. That's just how it is. You're going to see things that look like something and it has nothing. Like, it's just frustrating not to know, but I'm just trying to help you out, get you in the best scenario, at least get you started. But so you're always going to find things of interest in the river. But if it's 30 foot deep, you're probably going to be wanting to run 50 foot on side imaging as far as run left and right. It really just depends. You also got to be running it and seeing what you're hitting left and right. So you might have to run 60 foot deep. The more you scan out, the farther you scan out, the harder it is going to be to read that image. So I hope you found something of interest that actually turns out to be something, but I don't know. I'm just following up with this video because I'm sure the video I posted before is going to be misconstrued and all that stuff. But like I said, your voltage was 11.5 volts in this video from the news. Your scan speed is 3.5, 3.2 mile an hour. That's not bad at all. Just make sure you're nice and straight. And then depending on what the depth is, your side imaging and down imaging, or as far as side imaging, all I'm saying is get someone to help you run it, get someone to help you set it up and knows what they're doing for the best outcome. I wish you well. I hope you find your son.
I don't know what was controversial about that at all. That was just some helpful advice. I don't know what was controversial. I don't know why people had a problem with it at all. Just give him the benefit of his knowledge. Thank you, Nana's Cat, for the $5. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Your husband has all that fancy live scope sonar on his bass boat. It's not something a novice can use proficiently. No. It's not something. It's very specialist, and because there's so much crap in rivers and canals, like debris from like natural debris, and then also stuff that people throw in, or that just finds its way into a river over time. Well, it's all there. And unless periodically rivers and canals, sometimes there's an effort to clean sections of them up, and they find all sorts of stuff. Whenever they dredge a canal here in the UK, they find all sorts of stuff, random stuff. So saying that they found some things of interest, well, what are those things of interest? What are they? Because if they found something that they thought was related to Sebastian, if they saw some kind of image on the screen, well, then they'd need divers to go down and actually search for it. So amongst this 40 searchers that they've got, do they have any divers, like proficient divers, who could go down and look at what was of interest? Because saying on the news, like I'll play it back here, saying on the news that they found things of interest means absolutely nothing if they haven't got the divers in to search for those things. You don't just find something on a sonar scan and then say, oh, well, yeah, we found some things of interest, and then you don't go and dive to look what those things actually are. So Tanya, thank you for the $2 Australian. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Candice, for the $49.99. That is so generous. So kind. But listen to what he says here.
And for Seth, the answer to that question is no.
My son's not here, so we're nowhere closer.
If you have seen Sebastian or have information.
Maybe it's a little bit later on.
The search that we're doing today is a recovery effort. And I'm praying that we don't find him.
Seth says he believes his son is alive, but he added, some people still don't know Sebastian is missing.
We have to continue to hand out flyers until everybody knows.
Seth and Tony tell me they have one unanswered question for the Sumner County Sheriff's Office.
We think it's a valid question. We think it's a fair question. And that question is, are you any closer today to finding Sebastian Rogers than you were February 26th?
And for Seth, the answer to that question is no.
My son's not here, so we're nowhere closer.
If you have seen Sebastian or have information about his whereabouts, call the Sumner County Sheriff's Office or the TBI. Those numbers are listed on our website, WKRN.com.
Where does he say it? I know he says it in this little news piece that they found items of interest. So if you found items of isn't your dive team in searching for those items of interest? You know, if you find items of interest on a scanner, well, what are you going to do? Just leave them down there? What are you going to do? Just leave them down there, even if they could be of relevance to the case? If you just leave them down there, it leads me to believe that you're not actually searching. You're just having a ride on a boat. And that is, I'm sorry, given that Sebastian has been missing for nearly 5 months, and given that there is a very definite possibility of places he could be, that you could at least feature, if you want to, you know, publicize the case. And I understand that. I understand the need to publicize the case, to keep the case in the news. But at least when you're doing your searches, when you're doing your actual searches, don't waste people's time by going for a ride on a boat in a river. If you want to go on a boat ride, go on a boat ride. But don't pretend that that's searching for Sebastian, because Sebastian isn't there. For real, actual searches, you need to search here. Here. Actually, I'll get my Google Earth map up, which means I've got to share it another way, because it doesn't share it on a window when I open Google Earth, for whatever strange reason. But let's look at all this that I've done here. Hold on. Let's open Google Earth and find Sebastian's stuff. All right, here we go. Help us improve Google Earth. Take a brief fight. No, I'm not taking a survey. Go away. All right, so I've tracked all this out. Shown this on videos and live streams before. But here we've got, these are the cameras that we know are in the area. There is more. There is more. We know that's the retention pond. We know that several dogs tracked Sebastian from the house, up Kelling Lane, across here, through a right to this retention pond. This is what we know. This is what we know. We know that this neighbour at this house here, this is based on the dispatch audio, had seen Sebastian wandering about in this neighbourhood before, not recently, but previously. And I suspect it was when this area was construction. I expect that he didn't see him once the construction had moved more northerly, because this is from last year. This hasn't been updated since last year. These are all houses now here. This is now construction. This is where the construction is taking place. So exactly where Sebastian went, exactly where the dogs tracked Sebastian to. But the cops searched a 5-mile radius, which is this. That was what the cop search was here. So this red circle, I know it's not easy to see, but that's 5 miles, 5 miles radius. So starting at Sebastian's house being the center point, and that's 5 miles in every direction. That's what they searched in the first, how long did they search for? Was it 8 days? And then they came back and did another couple of days. Now, they have a very impressive map of all the places where they searched. Very impressive. But there's still areas that weren't covered. And some areas weren't covered. They were in the first 8 days, they were searching for a live person. And when someone's alive, then they can assist in their own recovery, in their own rescue. Because, you know, once they hear people shouting or they see a helicopter or a drone, they stand up and they wave, if at all possible. Obviously, if they're injured and they can't stand, that's a little bit different. But at least they can shout back. So it's much harder to search for a dead person than it is to search for a live person when that person is wanting to be rescued. Obviously, if that person's hiding and doesn't want to be rescued, then that's completely different. But assuming that this is a rescue where someone is lost and they actually want to be found, they will assist in any way they can in their own rescue. Whereas when you're searching for a dead person, then you literally have to, you know, they could be 2 meters away, 2 yards away in undergrowth, and you don't see them because, you know, there's quite a lot of dense woodland here. I mean, it's yeah, there's houses, but there is areas here within this 5-mile radius which are just woods. And, you know, given the undergrowth that builds up in wooded areas, then you don't see that person. We know there's caves. We know there's, you know, small ravines. We know there's places where someone could have fallen and got injured within this 5-mile radius. But what about the distinct possibility? And the cops did talk about this. The cops did actually say this, that it's very possible that Sebastian could have walked out of the 5-mile radius. So if anybody wants to actually do searches that mean something, rather than just sitting on a boat pretending to search, then you need to recover these areas of woodland, but particularly focus on the areas of woodland that are out of the 5-mile radius. It could have got way past 5 miles. Doesn't take that long to walk when you're 15. If he went missing, let's say he walked out of his house at 3 a.m. and he just carried on walking, by the time the searchers got out there, he could have easily have been further than 5 miles away. And if he was in the woods, unless there was trail cams, no camera's going to pick him up. So people who actually want to search need to be searching these woods But also there needs to be a focus on woodland that's out of this 5 mile radius. So further north, you hit the town of White House. So obviously, if he'd gone into this town, then he would have been seen on cameras, presumably. But there's so many, you know, patches of woodland. He could have gone west. This is all very rural. But what I don't believe he did do was make his way to the Cumberland River. Why do I know that? Because the Cumberland River is right slap bang in the middle of the town of Hendersonville. So if Sebastian had walked 5 miles to the Cumberland River, let's say to go fishing or something, or to go to a park that he liked, well, look at how many possibilities there would be for him to be caught on cameras. Because by the time he got down here, it would be light. Or lighter. And there's traffic cameras, there's cameras on businesses, as well as cameras on houses, which again has to be a decent system to pick someone up who's, you know, walking not on the property. But look at all the possibilities. So I know Sebastian didn't walk down through Hendersonville to the Cumberland River. Because if he had, he'd surely would have been caught on a camera. Wow. Just recently, an 80-year-old lady who had dementia got lost and was feared dead because she couldn't be found. In 24 hours, she travelled over 10 miles. Wow. So she just set off walking. She obviously was walking with a purpose. There you go. I mean, look, a 15-year-old young man. How far could you walk in 3 hours? Let's say he went missing between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. Let's just say that. Just give a, you know, it could be longer, could be less. But by the time people actually got out searching for him, easily walked more than 5 miles. It's my understanding most likely not wearing shoes. Is that true? That's what his parents have said. His parents have said he was barefooted because all of the shoes that they believed he had been accounted for. But I've been saying since day one, what if Sebastian had a pair of shoes that his parents weren't aware of? Because quite frankly, who keeps track of every single pair of shoes in your household? I certainly don't. Do you? Do you know exactly how many shoes are in your household? I mean, maybe if you only have one pair of shoes, then yeah, you can say, yeah, these are my shoes. But if you've got teenagers, if you've got a family, can you honestly say that you know every single pair of shoes in your house? I think he had a pair of shoes that he liked, that he wore. I honestly do. He could have walked 15, 20 miles, absolutely, Miss Wales. He could have done. He certainly could have been out of that 5 mile radius, without a doubt, without being caught on any cameras, because much of this 5 mile radius, whether he went north or whether he went northwest or west, it's mainly woodland. If he'd gone south, I think he's more likely to have been seen because there's more, it's more populated. If you're buying your son's shoes, you'd know. Well, up until like my kids, when they were teenagers, I didn't know how many pairs of shoes they had, even though I was buying stuff for them. I had no idea how many pairs of shoes they had. I've no idea how many pairs of shoes I've got. I wear the same couple of pairs every single day, but I don't know how many old pairs I've got. I've no idea. Not a clue. Not a clue. Sleepwalking. I mean, it's possible. It's possible he was a sleepwalker. It is absolutely possible. We've never heard of him sleepwalking. We've never heard any stories of finding him, you know, while he was asleep. But people do the strangest things when they're asleep. They do. On the dispatch audio, didn't Max's handler say the prints being tracked were shoe prints? Yeah, but I think the prints are not Sebastian's. I don't want to say this as a fact, but I've heard that there was barefoot footprints and adult size shoe prints. And the barefoot footprints were small footprints. So a kid has been there, obviously, you know, paddling in the pond or something. And the adult size weren't Sebastian's size. That's what I've heard. I can't say that's for definite. Didn't Katie manage a tight household? Even so, even if she did, even if she was really pedantic about, you know, the amount of shoes and stuff, what if Sebastian had an old pair of shoes that she'd forgotten about? What if he had an old pair of shoes that she put in the trash, saying, oh, they're too small or they're too scruffy now? She put them in the trash. It was Sebastian's job to take out the trash. What if he saw the shoes in the trash and took them out? How would Katie know? She wouldn't. She wouldn't know. What if he saw his favourite pair of shoes in the trash and he thought, I don't want my mother to throw those away, and he took them? And when he went out for a walk, he wore his favourite pair of shoes. I don't see there being any controversy about that. I think it's highly plausible that he had shoes that Katie did not know. Like, she didn't know, she doesn't know how many T-shirts he had. She doesn't know how many shirts he had. Understandably, because you don't keep a track of every single item of clothing that you or your kids have. So we only know that he was wearing like a long sleeve top with some kind of motif on it. But we've never been told the exact motif on it because they're not exactly clear which item is missing. So she's not that pedantic. What if she's flat out lying? If she's flat out lying, why make up a story that's implausible? Why make up a story that Sebastian was barefooted? That seems, you know, it's one of the major controversies of the case. If she was lying, why wouldn't she just say that Sebastian went out in a pair of shoes that she knew he didn't own, but she just makes up a pair of shoes? Why say he's barefooted? It doesn't make sense to say that your child has left probably barefooted if you're lying. Why would you lie about that? Why would you make that up as a lie? You had a favourite pair of shoes for your mother. There you go, you see. Very plausible. The sheriff wouldn't confirm barefoot. No, because I bet they don't know. I bet they don't exactly believe the parents, because they, like me, think, well, what if he had a pair of shoes his mother didn't know about? Yeah, exactly. It would make more sense to say the shoes were gone too, which would imply he left the house. If you were going to make up a lie, you're going to say, you're not even going to mention, you're not going to say he was barefooted, because that's implausible. That makes you sound like you're lying, and people have fallen for it. But if you were lying, you would just make up a pair of shoes that your kid had. Have I been following Terry Lynn on her searches? She's way past the 5 mile radius and has been for months. So as she searched every piece of ground along here, as she searched it, you know, painstaking, as she looked in every single bush, as she gone down every single dip, every single hole, every single cave, has she? I bet the answer is no, because that's impossible for one person to do on their own. But if Seth has got a team of 40 people, they could easily put together, obviously with permissions from the landowners, they could put together large teams to go out and actually grid search, which is what they need to do. They need to grid search the entire area because they're not looking for a live person anymore who can assist in their own recovery. They're searching for a dead body. A dead body, which, quite frankly, if it's been out in the open now for 5 months, is going to be significantly decomposed. So you're going to need a grid search. You're going to need to have people, you know, arm's length apart, searching that woodland. So I would basically take those 40 people, if indeed they exist, create some search grids, and every single day do one of the grids with the 40 people, like arm's length apart, scouring the ground. That is what is needed. I don't see anybody to have done that. Nobody's done that. So saying you're searching just by driving around in your car, not the type of search we need anymore. Those kind of searches are useful when you're looking for a live person, because driving around in your car, you might spot them because they might be walking down the road. But when you're looking for a significantly decomposed deceased person, then the only way to search an area sufficiently is to grid search it. It would. When you expand out that far, it would take a huge search team. Absolutely. But Seth is saying that he's got 40 people. So if he's got 40 people, he can start at the point north of the construction site, obviously with the relevant permissions from the landowners, and they can search each grid every day, do a different grid, and you walk arm's length apart, looking at the ground. You look in every bush, you go down every ravine, you search every hole, you search every cave, as long as it's safe, because we do know there are some caves there that are not safe. We know the cops did not search every single cave within that 5-mile radius because some of them were not safe for the searchers to go in. So I believe he's in here. I believe he's here. Either north in this area or even a bit further out, either north or to the west of the house. That's what I believe. And nothing has persuaded me otherwise. All the information that's come out over the last 5 months, nothing has convinced me otherwise. Caves are a worry, absolutely. The fact that only some of those caves have been searched because not all of them were safe enough for people to enter is a worry. What wildlife are in the area? Don't know because I don't live there. There's bears in Tennessee. If you live in the area, what kind of wildlife do you have? I know there's bears. You believe he's in the pond. He's not in the pond. He's not in the retention pond. That pond has been drained. It's been walked more than once. It was walked whilst it was drained. After it was drained, it was walked because it's thick mud at the bottom by the cops, and Trey from North Divers also walked it. So he's not in that pond. He's definitely not in that pond. Do I think Sebastian left home by himself? Yes. 100%. That's true. If he was searching for shelter from the elements, maybe he was tired. It could easily have, found a cave and climbed in, and the cave collapsed around him. Would the dogs not be able to trace the scent to the caves? Not now, no. Scent's long gone. And cadaver dogs need to be within, you know, if you are, let's say, crawled in a cave and the cave collapsed on you, there's a possibility that if a cadaver dog stood on the outside, that it would alert. There is a possibility of that. But you have to actually take the dog there. So we don't know how extensive the cadaver dog searches have been. Who's Jaden? Devondall. You don't even know who Jaden is. Fact, Sebastian doesn't like the dark. No, that's not true. Doesn't like bugs. When he was little, didn't like bugs, but we don't know about now. Fire ants when he was little, we don't know about now. All those things were said by Seth of Sebastian when he was a little boy. What Seth doesn't seem to know very much about is Sebastian now, which I find strange, but all the things that Seth talks about is when Sebastian was a little boy. So people change. So even if he didn't like the dark when he was a little boy, there's no question about Sebastian not liking the dark now or not liking bugs now. Random bear every now and then. Coyotes a lot. Bobcats and snakes. Could have been bitten by a snake. What if he was bitten by a snake? Yeah, he likes snakes. He loves snakes. We do know he likes snakes. So he's not squeamish about animals. He loves animals. What if he saw a snake and, you know, tried to befriend it and it bit him? Oh, Jaden was the neighbour's son. All right. Okay. In February, birds are hibernating. Okay. Exactly. Sometimes a body can be really close by and you just don't see it. If it's in undergrowth and it's decomposed, not easy to spot at all. At all. He does not have a team. All right. Well, the word on the street is that he's got a team of 40 searchers, but they're not going to say where they're searching, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with them not saying where they're searching, but they need to grid search it. A couple in Whitehouse, Tennessee was arrested in February 2024 for harboring a teen runaway. Okay, that's interesting. Blackbirds don't hibernate, but are rarely seen in winter. Any new leads? Well, according to Seth, they found some interesting things in the Cumberland River. But Grams, you need to go back to the beginning because I'm not going to kind of go over all that again. Yes, I can see your maximum effort. Think he'll be found in the fall or winter. It will be easier. I mean, doing grid searches now, probably not the best use of anybody's time because the foliage is going to be in full bloom at the moment. But in the fall or early winter, like before it snows, so once the foliage dies down, then do grid searches. It'll be a lot easier to see through that foliage. Michelle, she's not just driving around in her car. Watch her whole video, please. I have watched some of her videos, but what I'm saying is, as she searched every inch of ground, within this 5-mile radius and beyond. That's all I'm saying. If you're saying that somebody's gone outside of the 5-mile radius, one person cannot possibly do a comprehensive grid search of every single inch of woodland. You need a team. And I'm not saying that somebody could come across a body accidentally. Of course they do. You know, people come across bodies that have, you know, been there for a while, just accidentally. And it may well be that Sebastian's body, somebody comes across it accidentally, like a hunter or somebody, like, I don't know, clearing out stuff on their land or something. I don't know. Accidentally at some point in the future. That's very possible. So I'm not saying that people shouldn't go out looking. I'm not saying that at all, because just by chance, they might be able to come across him. But if you want to cover this ground now thoroughly and exclude it, completely exclude it, it absolutely has to be grid searched. If that 5 mile radius is grid searched, when it is, if it ever is, then I'll be confident that Sebastian is not in that 5 mile radius. Otherwise, I will continue to believe that Sebastian is in that 5 mile radius, either to the north or to the west of his house. But it is highly possible that he could have got out of the 5 mile radius by the time it was even known that he was missing. So there's always that possibility. Thank you, Curious Kiwi, for gifting 5 memberships. You are very kind. Let me just see who's got them. Laura Jean, Mel, Shelby, Nana B, and Nicholas. Welcome, everybody. You get a monthly membership courtesy of Curious Kiwi. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So I am going to go because it does appear that my question's been answered. My question was, what on earth is going on? What's going on with Sebastian Rogers? Because why? I thought I'd missed some information. Why is Seth searching the Cumberland River? So I do seem to have my answer, that there's no particular reason that Seth is searching the Cumberland River. There doesn't appear to be a rationale for it at all. So, what's the steepest ravine in that area? Don't know. I mean, it's hilly, but it's not mountainous. So it's not like, you know, the steep ravine that Jay Slater was found in. Hold on, I'll just share my screen again. So can you see it's not mountainous. So the ravines are only going to be, you know, the drop-offs and stuff, they're only going to be small drop-offs. Smaller anyway. I mean, possible for someone to fall down and injure themselves, but not the type of ravine that you would need like ropes and things like that. But there is a hill, like that's, so where Stafford Court is, there, it goes uphill, then it flattens out, and then it goes downhill. So there's the wood is on a hill. That wooded area is on a hill. So there's going to be, you know, plenty of places that a body could be lying in. Can you actually see that? Yeah, you can. Can you? You can't, can you? Duh. Can you see it now? Oh, yeah, you can. So don't need ropes and climbing gear. You just need bodies on the ground, boots on the ground. And if there genuinely is a team of 40 people, they could be put to use. And otherwise, we're no further forward. No further forward than when we started. Bar the circus. The only thing that's moving along is the circus. And I honestly can't deal with that. So I'm glad that I checked into the case, and I'm glad that 500 of you came to join me during this time. But it's very frustrating. I find it an incredibly frustrating case. Was his whole neighbourhood in that direction or anything? Well, it says on the dispatch audio, I did make a video about this, but it got taken down by YouTube, that there is a high school in Whitehouse that Sebastian has an association with. So one of my theories early on was that Sebastian was heading to Whitehouse School, that he wanted to go to school at Whitehouse, and he was heading there. Obviously never made it because the cops alerted Whitehouse School that he might turn up, but obviously he didn't. So he didn't make it to Whitehouse, if that's indeed where he was heading. But that was it was a theory in the early days. It was a theory that the cops, explored in the early days. On the first day, actually, because it was on the dispatch audio from the very first day. So yes, it could have been heading to a specific location and unfortunately didn't make it. So Sumner County is hilly, but not mountainous. Yeah. Could be a random ravine, not real deep though. Yeah. They don't need to be real deep though for somebody to, have an accident or get bitten by a snake and fall in or go and crawl down there to hide. They don't have to be deep. Look at Bryn Hargreaves, grown man, very fit, grown man. Went missing. 14 months later, was found in a small ravine, only small ravine, 300 yards away from his front door. And the amount of searches that have been done in that woodland, and he was just missed. And his body was found 14 months later, randomly by a couple of deer hunters who came upon it, just randomly by accident. So case after case after case, we have instances where people are found accidentally. Caleb Harris is the latest one. They're accidentally found by workers or a hunter or a dog walker, time and time and time again. So it could well be that Sebastian is another one of those who's found completely by accident. What do you think made him leave the home? Either because he was upset or because that's what he regularly did. I believe that he used to go walking in the neighbourhood when his parents weren't aware that he was out. But I think he was upset about going to live with Seth. He didn't want to go and live with Seth, not because he had a problem with Seth per se, but because he didn't want to do online school. Maybe he overheard the phone call that Katie and Chris were having. Maybe they were talking about Sebastian. Maybe they were talking about Sebastian's school. Maybe he got upset. Maybe they were having an argument and he got upset. And he decided to leave. I don't believe that he meant to leave permanently. I don't believe he ran away. I believe he went for a walk. Maybe to clear his head. Maybe because he's an insomniac. We know he doesn't sleep very well. Or maybe because he was upset and he just wanted to walk it off. So I don't believe he ran away or intended to run away permanently. I don't believe that. I believe that something happened while he was out that meant he couldn't come home. It would have been very lonely at Seth for him, it would. And he enjoyed school. He enjoyed school. He didn't want to do online school. You mentioned Bryn Hargreaves multiple times. Yeah, it's a very comparable case. So, all right, guys. Thank you all. We've been here nearly 2 hours, so I'm going to say goodbye. And thank you, mods, as always. Thank you to those that donate. You are very generous. Welcome to the new members. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, unless there's any breaking news from any of the cases that I'm covering at the moment. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. So, bye, guys.